because the messaging switched from, yeah, hey, we can help you recycle rechargeable batteries to, hey, we can now help you recycle all of your small format consumer batteries. So good news, all of that now will remain the same from a outreach and perspective, as well as what you're able to take at any of your facilities. One of the other changes, major changes, is now the law includes medium format batteries, and those are batteries that are that weigh more than 11 pounds but less than 25, and have a watt hour rating of 301 to 2000 watt hours.
And just to interrupt real quick, Todd, we realized that some folks wanted it to be recorded. So don't say anything you will regret later. Okay.
Thank you. So this is really great news. The updated law, does now obligate the manufacturers of these products that are powered by these larger, more powerful batteries, or the battery manufacturers of those batteries, to fund and participate in that program. So we will be able to take those batteries, and I know from talking to both Mia as well as some of the swimmies, these batteries are starting to come in for sure. The other big piece from a perspective of batteries that you're going to see at your location, and sort of what's changing as a covered battery under this new expansion, our updated law is covering damaged defective batteries. So damaged defective batteries are going to be covered under this law. So whether it's a power tool battery, laptop battery, or even a medium format battery, the containers and the expense of that, you will be able to recycle those through our program. The one important note is that any recalls, so it's usually damaged, defective, and recalls, any recalls are going to be are basically not covered by the Battery Stewardship Organization. And that is a common thread amongst any of the new laws or legislation that's being implemented. The idea there is that collectively the manufacturers should not be paying for an individual company's issue. So they all wanted to deal with that issue themselves. So that will be on the individual producer, will not be covered by the Battery Stewardship Organization.
Todd, can you give an example of a medium format battery? This came in through the chat.
Oh, sure. Yes. The easiest one that most of us know, it would be an electric bike. An electric bicycle battery, an e-bike battery, those are somewhere usually between 500 to 800 watt hours, and maybe 8-ish pounds. Another example, or go ahead.
Oh, no,
go ahead.
Say example of a product battery recall, and hoverboard was what popped in my mind.
Hoverboard for sure. Years ago, the Samsung smartphone recall, when they were having, they basically wouldn't let you board a plane if you had one. That's a recall. Most recently, there's a power tool manufacturer that just had a recall that was announced in December of 24. So typically, the recalls are managed by the Consumer Safety Protection Commission or Council, and so the CPSC announces recalls. There's many different levels of recalls, whether it's voluntary or kind of a forced recall. But basically, there's direct communication to folks that have these products and that have registered. So they get direct line. So when you get that card, when you buy a new product and asks you to register your product, that's one of the reasons they do that for. Battery collection options. I'm going to hand over Matt and ask Matt to walk through this.
Yeah. So some of you, or I'd say all of you, are already very familiar with our battery boxes. Our cardboard battery boxes, a little bit bigger than a shoebox, flame retardant liner on the inside, biodegradable, protectable baggies on them for terminal protection. Very easy. You fill up the box with batteries, make sure that there isn't anything too crazy in there, and then you box it up, ship it out, so on. Starting later through 2025, Todd, correct me if I'm wrong about the dates, we are going to start supplying one drum with fire suppressant to swimmies and transfer stations throughout Vermont for free. This might not be applicable to all of you, especially if some of you are only going through like a box or two a month. Or even, maybe even a little bit more than that. We were thinking that one drum is more for the bigger, if you're generating a lot more batteries from your populace or a lot more medium format. And to backtrack a little bit, one drum can take everything. One drum is able to take everything from your primaries to rechargeables to medium format to the e-bike batteries to, and I believe eventually with a little bit of updating, it will be able to take DDR as well, or any of the damaged batteries. One drum works. This is very easy because with the fire suppressant included, you will be making a battery parfait where you will be dumping, a couple inches or so of batteries into the drum and then layering with the fire suppressant on top and just repeat until it is full. The one drum is vented. It has all the travel permits and everything to be shipped. We will be handling the shipping as well. And the fire suppressant, if there is a runaway thermal reaction within the one drum, the fire suppressant acts as a way to kind of basically cover and dome the affecting area so it doesn't spread throughout the rest of the drum. This has already been in stores and places nationwide. It's wildly successful. The training lasts, once you finish the training for to be certified in this, it lasts for a few years as well. So you don't have to be taking it once a year. And that's pretty much it. Todd, did I miss anything?
Thank you for that. Appreciate it. I think, just as a general kind of comment or overview, since I started here way long time ago, one of the challenges in battery recycling and battery collection for recycling, really has been sorting batteries, individually bagging and taping different batteries, and the labor associated with that. One drum is a newish, as Matt mentioned, sort of a newish product for us. In what the beauty of one drum is, in my opinion, is that it operates and moves is transported under a special permit from the U.S. Department of Transportation, and under that permit, you do not have to separate the batteries by chemistry, and you do not need to individually bag or tape the batteries. So from a visual perspective, as Matt mentioned, the first layer on the bottom is fire suppressant. And if you haven't seen what the fire suppressant looks like, when you're a kid, if you ever broke a beanbag chair, and sort of the little white beads came out, it looks like those beads. Or another is Dippin' Dots. If you've been to a amusement park at all, looks like Dippin' Dots. It's actually silica based product, so it actually, as Matt mentions, if there is a thermal event, it actually encapsulates the fire and suffocates it and puts it out. But this actually, from a visual, you put a layer of fire suppressant at the bottom, the equivalent of like 5-gallon bucket of batteries into the drum, another layer, 5-gallon bucket of batteries, another layer, and so on until you get to the top and finish it with a layer of fire suppressant. So this is a really great product. We have used it and have been moving thousands of pounds across the U.S. to sorters, and from there the material gets dumped out, sorted. It's very similar to the collection boxes, then sent to downstream recyclers for processing from there. One of the unique pieces with one drum as well is that, as Matt mentioned, it can take any of the what I referred to earlier as the small format or consumer batteries. It can also take the medium format, so those 301 to 2000 watt hour batteries as well.
So they can all go in together, all
They
different.
can all go in together. Correct. Correct.
There was a hand raised.
Yeah, Alexandra had a question.
Hi, everyone. My question, can we utilize the parfait technique in any 55 gal drum, or is it specifically Call2Recycle's one drum?
It's specifically this one.
Thanks. Okay.
It has to be there's different, not to go completely in the weeds, but there's different levels of US DOT special permits. And the one for this specifies that it's a specific grade of drum and that we supply all of the same things. That way it's consistent across everyone, and that we can ensure that the drum is the correct packing group.
Can even the little transfer stations, the collection facilities get these if they're not, I mean, they're not collecting a lot, but this just seems like a much better system even for the small transfer stations?
So it's a great question, and it's most likely will be a little bit of both. I think some will still use the boxes. We have different versions of sort of the drum, one drum in air quotes. So we have a pallet of 4, and then we also have a single one drum. We were getting somewhere between 450 to 500 pounds of batteries in a drum. So as long as I think in what we'll have to do is go through and look at annual volumes, and assuming that they can get close to that, 450 to 500 pounds in a year, then it makes sense for them to have a single drum, one drum.
Well, and I'm thinking now with these new collections of like the e-bike batteries and things like that, even the smaller collection facilities may get more.
They certainly could. They certainly could. I think that one of the things that we'll have to do is just sort of balance it out from our perspective. If there's a small site that historically has collected, I'm just going to make numbers up, right? 75 pounds in a year. I would say we start with collection boxes, and then we can always switch to this. I mean, this is, one drum is really, we think how specifically larger volumes of batteries are going to be collected. The other option too is, I know there are some locations that have, sort of serve as a hub with, spoke locations out there, so in theory you could collect at those smaller sites batteries in boxes and then come back and dump them in the one drum just as an option as well. The other piece is just operationally that we need some way to get the drum on and off off a truck. So there's, if there's no loading dock, then we can get lift gates. It's just a matter as long as we can get them on and off. So that's just the other consideration.
And the other thing just to keep in mind too, Pam and others, about smaller transfer stations would be inside storage, right? So this drum's got to be inside. And as Todd said, access to be able to get it picked up. And then this is a reminder for myself and our certification team to remember for the permits for transfer stations. When we start getting into, if transfer stations start seeing a lot of e-bike batteries and, collection numbers go higher, that we should make sure that's included in the permit, and that the quantity estimates we have in there are accurate. Corey's here from NEK.
Yeah, so also there'll be a new product for the larger, where you said medium-sized effective batteries, because right now the current kits that we have or were given would only accommodate like a smaller one, really, or a collection of smaller ones. So there'll be not a new product necessarily, but new to us.
Yes. So right now, these two what we're looking at here, the collection box and one drum at this point are just for end of life batteries. So if you have a damaged, defective battery, either consumer or small format or medium format, there is a different kit, which I'll flip to, but I think my eyesight's much worse than it was 10 years ago. Is that Joyce?
Joyce had a question, yeah.
What's the price of additional drums and how are these being shipped?
The price of additional, it's covered by the stewardship program. So adding rechargeable batteries to the law, along with the primary battery law now, we're able to offer one drum at no cost to the swimmies. So that essentially just think of one drum replacing the boxes that most people are using. And so there's no cost for there. So, what we'll do is we'll just work with you, and that will be part of my homework ask at the end is, we'll be reaching out in May to everyone to kind of go through and just walk through like, hey, this is what you collected last year. How many do we want to start with and whatnot. So we're going to put together some sort of specific collection plans for each of the swimmies and then move from there. Does that answer your question, Joyce?
Yes and no.
Okay.
So with that research, you'll be able to tell us how long that drum will last. But my question is, if we need an additional drum, do you have a cost associated with that? Do you know what they run?
If you need an additional drum, I can get you a cost. I don't have one
Okay.
off the top, but yeah, if you need an additional drum, we certainly can. If it's to collect batteries, technically it's covered by the stewardship program.
Yeah, so I was gonna say, Joyce, so if you're getting close to filling that drum, you would get it ready for shipment and then another one would come back, just like the box, right, Todd?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
these
I see what.
shovered-
Yeah. I gotcha.
Yeah.
So, good point. So, I would say this, like, just
Then we have
from a
clearances.
perspective, Joyce, specific to you. So, in Stowe, we could start with like 2 single drums, right? You fill one drum up, that gets picked up, and then you have a backup.
Right.
And so it's already there. So we could certainly, and we'll work through that because clearly we don't want downtime. Unlike the boxes, these obviously get shipped freight, less than truckload LTL freight.
So not FedEx anymore. You don't call FedEx anymore.
You don't call FedEx the little trucks. You'll call it'll actually quite honestly is easier. Everyone will get access to our bulk shipping portal. So you go on to our bulk shipping portal and it recognizes that you put your account information in, recognizes that you have one drum, will create a bill of lading for you. And then and I don't know the technology, but it connects to FedEx Freight somehow, and you can pick your pickup date.
Great. Thanks, Todd.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Aaron, did you have something?
Yeah, I just have a couple questions. So, and forgive me, I came in a little bit late, but is the intent with this to accept all different chemistries co-mingled? Because we have been separating those out as our standard operating procedure. Can you talk about that?
Yes, absolutely. So the intent of one drum and really one of the 2 big advantages, right? The first is you do not have to separate by battery chemistry. So as long as it's an air quotes a covered battery, lithium ion, nickel metal hydride, lithium primary, alkaline, it can go in the drum in the same drum. The second advantage.
DDR is separate.
DDR is separate, correct. We will be testing one drum. I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Sorry.
We will be testing one drum here in probably the beginning of Q2 for the inclusion of DDR, small format DDR batteries in one drum in a fire retardant envelope. So that will take some time for us to get through assuming the testing goes well, to get through the special permitting process with DOT, as the federal government seems to be a little bit of a stalemate these days. But certainly that is our hope in the not so distant future, be able to add small format batteries, DDR batteries to that. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, sure.
I have follow up on volumes, similar to
Sure.
Joyce's question, but
Might want to shout.
our facility goes through 10,000 pounds of batteries a year. We'd ideally like to have a couple in reserve, so that we can accommodate that. Can we, well, I just wanted to ask if that's how that'll work.
Yeah, no, it's a good question. So from a perspective of that high of a volume, we'll first get 2 pallets is what I would recommend.
Okay.
And there'll be 4 drums on each pallet.
Great.
So just for round numbers and my inability to do math, 1 pallet will hold about 2,000 pounds. So you'll fill 1 pallet up, schedule that to get picked up, start filling the other one. And then once that's picked up, they're not in the same truck. I wish I could make that happen, but it seems like it would be easy, but it's not with LTL loads. Another, there'll be a empty pallet that shows up.
So we should anticipate the need for additional drums when we're getting close to the end of our stock, and just make that order with enough lead time to get things. Sometimes we'll get a large volume of batteries in at once, and we can fill a barrel fairly quickly. So what kind of lead time are you talking about between ordering additional drums and receiving them? Do you have any idea?
I would say you want to give yourself 5 to 7 business days to get that delivered. And like I said, we'll meet with you, go through volumes. The intent is that, similar to the boxes, that there's no downtime. And what I mean by downtime is there's no putting it in, the rubber batteries being collected in Rubbermaid containers, until the drums show up. So our goal would be to get you everything that you need, and that there's sort of a constant flow. So as the system is not set up this way right now, but the idea is when you go to schedule, let's just say you have 2 single drums. When you go to schedule the pickup of the first full one, you'll be queried to say, hey, do you need another one? And then you just order it at that time.
Thank you.
Sure.
I just have a clarification needed on the language. We're saying defective batteries, but that doesn't include recall batteries. So that's kind of my understanding, is a defective battery is a recall battery. So shouldn't we
No.
change our language? No, not the same.
No,
Okay.
not the same. So it is, you're right in that it's definitely in the same family. They're just a little off. So basically when you look at it from a Department of Transportation, sorry for the acronym, a Department of Transportation perspective, a damaged, defective, or recalled battery is one that is basically has a higher chance to go into thermal runaway because something has happened to it. And when it's defective and or it's damaged, those are kind of environmental aspects, meaning like, hey, it's defective or it's damaged because I dropped my laptop down the stairs and the battery ballooned up, or I dropped my nail gun from the roof and it hit the sidewalk, and something happened, like the guts of the battery are spilling out. Whereas a recall is issued by the individual manufacturer of it and basically it's either a manufacturing issue on the battery cell side, like something in that battery is causing it to basically go into thermal runaway. It could also be from the product design perspective, or it could be from the battery management system perspective, which is, forgive the sort of the description, but sort of the nickel cadmium batteries, the old power tool batteries. Those are kind of dumb batteries, or just cells tied together in a battery pack. Lithium ion batteries and the products have a management system, so it basically communicates to the battery and what to do, and sometimes that gets a little squirrely. So usually the damaged defective is something that and there's going to be times, honestly, that you're not going to know what it is, right? So you will just treat it as damaged defective. But the idea is more on the producer side of things, that the producer can't call us or the battery stewardship organization and say, hey, we sold, 1 million phones into Vermont, the battery stewardship organization has to go send packaging to get those out of the marketplace. But from your perspective, you're not going to know exactly. Most recall batteries just will come in as, if they bring them to you, you'll just see them as recall, like just a regular battery. So it gets a little squirrely from that perspective, but there is a nuance in definition, and that was much longer response, but hopefully that answered your question.
Todd, Suzanne had a question too.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
We can.
Good morning.
Morning.
My
Morning.
question is, does this include lead acid batteries, like car batteries?
No, it does not.
So no lead acid batteries?
So
Even the
there's
small ones that are 11 pounds, less than 11 pounds?
those are included. So the battery world makes a little bit of a distinction. The battery stewardship laws that we're talking about are referenced as dry cell, and meaning that there's no liquid in the batteries. And like a car battery, like you shake it, you can kind of feel the liquid sloshing around. So those have their own program. It's a good question. The smaller ones, like the kids' riding toys, the emergency lights, those can go through this program.
Okay. And then I have another question.
Sure.
What is the weight of a 1-drum barrel full?
Battery weight, we are getting somewhere in between 450 to 500 pounds of batteries. If you say it's on the 450 side, the drum's probably another 30 and the pallets maybe 15, or so call it 500 pounds. Actually call it 550 to be round, with everything in it, the drum, the pallet, and that's a single drum and a little 26 by 26 pallet with all the fire suppressant in it.
So if our transfer station has over, let's say, 750 pounds of batteries per year, we could have one of these 1-drums.
Correct. Yep.
Thank you.
Sure.
Todd, Scott's also wondering where to get the special boxes for the damaged and defective batteries.
Okay. Thank you. That's next, I think. Are there any more questions on the end of life batteries? Okay. No questions there. Give me 2 more slides and we'll get into the damage effective. Matt, you want to please go through the medium format piece?
Yeah, this is a little bit newer, but we have, at least in my travels through some of the transfer stations and swimmies in Vermont, you're going to start seeing a steadier uptick of medium format batteries, whether from snow blowers, leaf blowers, e-bikes, etc. We have a couple of listings here: outdoor gear, power tools, solar generators. That is, we've understood that is going to be a growing collection issue. So we do have plans underway for medium format right now, and there are different kits that we have for that as well. Is that good? This is a very relatively new thing, so we are also learning as well. Some of you are already very familiar with the cardboard box that we have for it, which is similar to the regular collection boxes that we've had, with the exception that a medium format, you can only fit maybe like 2 or 3 within the box, depending on the size of the battery and such. It says here holds up to 4 batteries with the 3,600 watt hours, up to about the 26 pounds, and then some of the batteries do need to be decharged a little bit to get under the under the 30% if the watt hours are in the 1200 range. But the reason that we also have one drum there is that we are, and Todd, please correct me because I do get a little confused on the timeline of this. Starting later in the year as the rechargeable battery law goes into effect, we will be taking medium format within the one drum, and that will be, similar, basically the exact same way that you would do with and it can be mixed in with the smaller format batteries as well.
Correct. So very similar, as Matt was mentioning in the previous slide around end of life, very similar to medium format. If there's smaller volumes and you don't have one drum, you have a box solution that operates under a Department of Transportation special permit. And then if you have one drum, you are able to put those directly into the one drum and treat it just like one of the other batteries that go into that.
Now, Todd, very quickly, the boxes, the actual cardboard boxes, once we get closer to that December start date, the boxes will be free as well, correct?
Right. So basically the timing around this will be, the law goes into effect January 1, 2026 from a collection perspective. So like I said, we're going to start in May and then get everything organized from a perspective of who needs what material. And then we will be sending all of the materials out to the collection sites in December, to get everybody ready for the start date of January 1.
Corey has a question.
This may be a Mia question. So testing those batteries that are over, I forget what it was, 1200. What equipment will we be getting equipment for that?
I was just gonna ask that myself, Corey. I have no idea. So
So-
if you wanna go over that, Todd, that would
I
be
can
great.
answer
That's the
that.
first thing that we
Yes.
got. Yep.
So that is a limitation on the special permit of that collection box. The majority of high energy, the medium format batteries will have dots on them. They're usually like 4 lights that light up. And basically, as long as it is one light, then it's assumed that's on 25% or less, so you're fine there. There aren't a lot of batteries at this point that are over 1200 watt hours from that perspective. And for everyone that doesn't know, to determine watt hour, it's voltage times amp hour, and that will give you how many watt hours it is. If there's a situation, if you have a high energy battery or medium format battery that is over 1200 watt hours, that you can't tell that what the charge on it is, then you will and we'll provide the direction on this. You'll have to reach out to us and we will send you a different kit, and that kit will basically ship as a fully regulated hazardous material, and we'll walk through that process.
Act with everyone and start to really assess what the need is and what type of equipment packaging for each site.
Right.
You will be training everybody on how they would
wouldn't-
collect medium format and what to do.
Correct. I wouldn't
then-
recommend trying to discharge anything.
Yeah.
This is just unfortunately a limit of the special permit. So when the U.S. Department of Transportation issues a special permit, it basically provides quote unquote relief to the hazardous material regulations. And the process is we do a bunch of testing and then we submit, and then DOT basically says, hey, you can do this under the description that you provided, or you can do this under a few different options. And that's kind of what we got, is that if it's over 1200 watt hours, that they wanted to see it less than the charge, less than 30%. Obviously we push back on that because how do you know? Luckily, a lot of those batteries do have external charge indicators, which are those 4 lights. And you usually can hit a button and it'll light up. But if you get in a situation, and we'll have cheat sheets and everything for this, you get in a situation where you're like, I have no idea what this is, then it's a different kit. And it's a little more of a walk than these kits here. But if you have one drum, it doesn't matter.
Yep.
It's only if you have the box.
I think it's also fair to acknowledge that maybe not every site may have staff who can handle collecting medium format, right? And that's something we can explore. Some may be better suited than others.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm like Corey.
Yeah, I mean, when you're looking at an attendant that maybe works 3 hours a
Yeah.
week, that's kind of a big ask.
Sure.
To, be trained in this, because, just getting the defective and damaged battery training was like kind of enough. Actually, you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Great.
There's another question in the chat. For swimmies or transfer stations that go through a smaller volume of batteries, but who are still using the one drum, does the 1-year universal waste rule still apply?
Yes. Yes, it does. So that's kind of going to be, like I said, if annually you're collecting or a site's collecting 200 pounds, the one drum might not be a solution just because that's about 6 or 7 normal collection boxes. So we're just going to have to sort of weigh those pieces because we don't obviously want you to exceed that timeline. If you're in the ballpark of, 500 pounds, then I certainly think it makes sense. But there may be some sites that make sense from a perspective of, if they're just a smaller transfer station to still use the collection boxes. All right. Here is the damaged defective battery piece, and I'll hand this back to Matt.
Yeah, so this is, this also will be covered once we get closer to the rechargeable start date in 2026. But there are a couple of different options that we do have for basically the damaged defective recycling options. I'm very familiar with the cell-safe envelope, just taking a single lithium-ion battery, usually most commonly a cell phone or a laptop battery, commonly referred to in the general vernacular as spicy pillows. You would just, the envelope is made of the same similar material that you find in the collection box. You would put, the damaged battery in there, seal it up, put it in the envelope, and it can be shipped normally through UPS or FedEx, depending on the label. Also starting to get a little bit larger, but similar process for the small DDR lithium ion or large. It comes with a little bucket and some. I don't know what the actual material is. I'm just gonna say sand, but like a sand kitty litter type of thing to encase the damaged defective battery in there, that in the event that there's a thermal runaway, it will be contained within the kit. Depending on what you have, depending on what you need, we do have the options for something larger like a drill battery or a larger laptop battery as opposed to a smaller cell phone battery as such. Just to go over as the safety, if there is like an embedded battery that is starting to react, please do not try to tear the battery out. That we don't want to cause any extra injury upon yourselves, and you don't want to make it worse. Essentially, just put the entire thing into the solution or into the envelope, and it will be basically encapsulated within that. Yes, that's it.
Thank you, Matt. As Matt mentioned, the 3 solutions that are shown here are all solutions that the swimmies will have available to them. Again, we'll which solutions are best, and obviously we can adjust as needed. There's 2 pieces that are not on here. These are all for batteries under 300 watt hours. I don't think they're, no. Excuse me, there are 2 other solutions that we don't have pictured here. One is for a single medium format battery. It's basically the same premise as the small and large DDR, the small and large pails. It's just a slightly larger pail. It's a little, honestly, it's a little more clumsy because all of these kits here that you see ship under a special permit from the U.S. Department of Transportation. There's no U.S. Department of Transportation has submit. Oh, geez, I can't even talk today. Has approved 2 special permits for medium format damaged batteries, but to date, UPS has not approved those packages shipping under that special permit to travel under their network. So to get those out of the marketplace, we have a solution that is a 14-gallon version of the 2 pail versions here. So it's a slightly larger pail, and basically that will ship fully regulated. So it's a little clunkier. These are a lot easier. But it is a way to get out of the marketplace. So that's one. And the other one, if you have a larger facility and you're seeing lots and lots of damaged batteries coming through, we have 55-gallon versions of these DDR kits as well. So our goal around all of this is to really use, like we said, starting in May, have enough ramp up time to chat with everybody, meet with everybody, find out what solutions are best suited for everyone, and then give us enough time to get all those materials together and then get them out to you, before the January 1 start date.
We have a question here, Tom.
Is the
Sure.
is the 55-gallon kit different than one drum, or is it essentially the same?
It is different, but essentially it's the same thing. There's different special permits used for it, and it has a different sticker on the front, and there's a little different packing instructions, but for all intents and purposes, it's the same material. And in the 2 pail kits too, it's the same fire suppressant in those little pail kits that's in one drum, and the 55-gallon.
Todd, for those folks, the HHW facilities that have 55-gallon drums with cell block that ANR purchased 2 years ago,
Yes.
those would only be good for shipping intact,
End of life.
end of life, no damaged, right?
Let's see. Those
We can
were.
take it offline. I just
Yeah,
was
yeah.
just thinking about them.
No, it's a great question. Here's what I would say is, I'll answer your question and then give you my 2 cents. So we could ship those. Assuming they are packed correctly, we could ship them under a special permit and
Okay.
move them that way. My 2 cents is I would keep those drums on hand, just as storage containers.
Okay.
Because if you ship them through our program, we don't get those back. So I think if you already have them and you're using them for storage, I would just continue to use those, and then we'll just supply you with whatever the appropriate container is that you need.
Great.
Is the old product that we got, the more like shoebox style with the liner, for defective batteries, we were given those with the kits. Are those still good to use?
Those are
Absolutely,
still
and
good
please
to use.
use them, because
Okay.
ANR paid for that, so we don't want to waste it.
Yes.
We still have some, so,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yes.
just checking.
No, great question. In that specific kit, the manufacturer isn't making those, so we don't have those available any longer. And the envelopes were really the picture on the left here is what replaced those. All right.
Things are evolving fast, huh?
Things are evolving, yes. Green Vantage. I know there's, I'll just say Green Vantage will still exist. All the agreements, we're already working and off of the primary and rechargeable. So any of the volumes that come in, including medium format, which are e-bike, outdoor power equipment type things, that will still exist. And so all those agreements are good. If you're swimming, you're not part of the Green Vantage program, please reach out. Be more than happy to chat through those. I know there's been some issues on our side from our systems perspective. So I'll just blanket apologize for those now. But we have that sorted out internally at this point. And if you're, for whatever reason, you still have an outstanding issue, I would ask that you reach out to me directly with that. And one piece just to recognize as well is when batteries are shipped out from your facility, we don't register them in our system until they're sorted. And that sorting could take up to 90 days. So, and perhaps
Explain the
longer.
Green Vantage program, so are
Oh,
new
sure.
on the call. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, I probably should have started with that. So Green Vantage is a program that we started many years ago, and it was basically for public entities or basically SWMMEs to help offset some of the costs of sorting, bagging, and handling batteries that are collected through the Call2Recycle program. So we basically provide a direct offset per pound back to the SWMME to help offset the cost of that.
There's a question.
This is Suzanne again. I know of like an Ace hardware store in Vermont that has a Call2Recycle box.
Okay.
And I was wondering, is this Green Vantage Pro also for them? Because I
No.
was wondering how they got a box.
So the Green Vantage program and the collection program are connected, but they are different. So the Green Vantage program is specific to SWMMEs or municipalities. It's not for businesses. But having said that, businesses still can participate in the collection program. So whether it's, in Vermont, ACE, oh gosh, I can see what's the Obashan, excuse me, Home Depot, Lowe's, kind of, some of the larger national retailers, as well as smaller businesses can take advantage of the free battery collection program. They just don't get access to the Green Vantage program.
And for Suzanne and others, if you look at the locator map you get to it from our Vermont battery page or from Call2Recycle's Vermont page, both are linked. You'll see that there's like over 170 collection locations under the Call2Recycle, under the battery stewardship program in Vermont. And I'd say probably, more than half are retail locations. Yeah. So there's a good amount out there.
Will they be taking medium format?
The retailers,
Most
no, yeah, most likely not.
Yeah, I want to comment too, that having that barrel for defective batteries, especially the medium sized ones. I have a lot of respect for lithium batteries. I think they are very dangerous. So if you're talking about a defective lithium battery of any considerable size, you're looking at a small bomb, as I see it. So I think having a barrel for those defective large, medium-sized batteries is going to be essential for places that are going to be storing them. I'd like to think like we get one in and we turn around and we ship it right out, but that's not realistic, I think. Mm-hmm. So I would just feel better if I'm going to be storing them, that I want something that's going to be really safe. So I like the idea of keeping that barrel for that purpose.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also just one more comment. And I think I've said this before, the way that we do our batteries is a little different because we collect it from, as you said, like a spoke system. Mm-hmm. So when we're packaging them up, we have one person who's sort of doing that we're just collecting them in like kitty litter boxes from our satellite stations. So the training that we take every year is sort of not applicable. That's talking about putting bags around each one, and we don't really do that because we're already sorting it and putting it in. So the training is not sort of like useful. So what I'm hoping, I mean, it's useful, it's just some of it doesn't apply. That when you guys are looking at training for this new system, that maybe you look at all different aspects and maybe there's like training specific to how people are doing things.
Each region.
A little more responsive, I guess, training that way.
Sure.
Looking at
I
different
think,
angles. of how
I think we can look at training from a perspective of, I totally understand your question or comment. One of the struggles for us is kind of we need to get everyone, specifically with one drum, it's a very specific training that everyone has to take. So that really can't, that specific training on one drum can't change. Just because it's required under the special permit of how that is, I think, and that's really just around packaging and just knowing regulations that are tied to it and just awareness. I think it's sort of the in front of that training, which is I think what you're alluding to, because that's more around like, hey, this is the product and this is what you need to know about the product and how it needs to be used. And then it's the individualized, training on how each district or SWME is going to, collect batteries. So we can certainly work through that. And that might be more or less like an on-site training perspective of working with you to figure out what makes sense. I think from a perspective of the Northeast Kingdom, from that there, it's, the system that's being used now, the key litter buckets, talking through that. But yeah, I mean, there's certainly opportunities that we can help individualize that, but I think it'll be more on, I would say, on site and discussions with you and presentations on site.
Are there other folks who have questions or in the chat?
I'm good.
Oh, there we go. Sorry, look behind me.
So I don't know if you all have seen this come across your desks, but we had an interesting battery come through. It was a lithium lead battery.
I remember that.
And we were trying to figure out what to do with it. But it sounds like this,
Was it a marine battery?
yeah.
Yeah, it was a marine battery, yeah.
Yeah, so it sounds like this one drum system could accommodate that. I'm wondering if there's an opportunity to get that to you all earlier, or if we have to wait until January 1st.
So first part is one drum could accept that, assuming that that battery is under 2,000 watt hours and under 25 pounds.
So
yeah. So assuming it is, because I think I know the battery you're talking about, or not the specific one, but kind of in general, that will be able to be included. Unfortunately, at this point, we don't have funds from producers to handle that at this point. So you would have to wait to recycle that at no cost. We could help with that, but there'd just be a cost with it.
Okay. Thanks.
Sure. We are piloting what we think is a very cool thing in Vermont, which will then be hopefully rolled out to the rest of the country. Roxanne, Roxanne's been working on this project a lot. Would you be able to kind of give everybody a background on what Smart Drum is and what that will look like?
Sure. Is Josh Etsy on the line? Esty.
He's on vacation, I think. He's in some
Is he on
warm
vacation?
climate.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. I was gonna put him on the spot.
Yeah.
Since we're gonna be partnering with Chittenden on launching what we're calling our Smart Drum program. And what this is it's actually a drum that features some technology that is, and we use smart a lot, but it really is really smart technology that has an autofill level measurement in it, so that it also has a temperature sensor in it. So, and that's contained in the lid. If you kind of look on the right side of the picture, you're going to see where, you know, there are some batteries that that actually operate this. So there's so what it does is we could set it so that as this drum is filling up, once it gets to a certain level, it actually pings us automatically so that we know that the drum is getting full and we need to make arrangements to come out and pick up that drum and replace it with a new one. So so it's really very cool. We actually this actually did launch in Canada, and it's been quite successful for them. It also has a temperature sensor in there, so that, and we test this out with a hair dryer, believe it or not, but it's really cool. Once you know, if a battery starts, if a thermal runaway starts, and the temperature rises inside the drum, then it pings us as well, so that we can get someone out there right away. We can contact the store. But the cool thing is that it's all contained in there. So the thermal runaway doesn't leave the drum. The drum is vented so that it contains it contains it should that happen. And again, just the automated pings back to us to let us know what's going on. So the cool thing for this is that you have, and we'll be piloting this at a grocery store in Chittenden, because, you know, the cool thing about this is that there are some retailers like grocery stores and some pharmacies where they don't really have the staff to manage a box per se, but they do want to participate in the program. This is kind of hands off for them. It kind of, you know, it can stand, we find, you know, all it really needs is a place for us to put it. And it kind of markets itself. What you're seeing here is not the final design. It's really just an example, but it kind of markets itself so that people, there's like a, you know, and it limits the size of the batteries that can go into, because it's like a 5-inch diameter, yeah, where the batteries actually go in. And so it's kind of hands off. It's cool. And again, it's doing really well in Canada. So we're really looking forward to piloting this to see where else.
And folks don't have to individually bag their batteries before they toss in. So it could be really convenient for the consumer who's going to do their shopping.
Right.
And they can drop their batteries off and go do their grocery shopping or their office supply shopping. I'm excited about it. So.
Yeah, we're really excited.
A few questions
I'm
in the
sorry?
chat. Is that a 55-gallon drum? It's hard to tell from the picture.
No, it's
No,
not.
it's
It's a smaller. It's about, what is it,
smaller.
like, call it a 16 gallon. It's right around 16 gallon.
Okay. And then who handles the pickups once Call2Recycle is pinged?
Well,
In this,
that's Josh. No.
it's gonna be,
I'm
it's
kidding.
gonna be, we're partnering with Chittenden to do this. They will then bring it back. They'll go swap, you know, basically take an empty one out, swap the full one, and bring the full one back to their environmental depot and ship us the batteries.
And so during this pilot, we're going to really be working closely with them and hoping that, you know, in the future that, you know, there may be, we may want to say, okay, we're going to put this in this chain of stores. They want it, whatever, and there's a solution. But we'd also like to partner with, you know, with all of you on where in, you know, your communities better than we do. Like, so can we continue to partner in your community where, you know, we could put this in a place that, you know, and work with you to be able to go get the batteries.
How much does this cost?
This is free, and
No, I mean, like, what does it cost to like actually make it, and then it requires some kind of monitoring, so somebody has to get paid, right, to monitor?
So right
It's-
now, Call to
Oh,
Recycle is voluntarily doing this. This is
Yeah,
something that's
yeah.
under the program.
this is,
Right.
Yeah.
yeah.
So the idea with this is, and
is
this has been
new
a
program.
this has been a challenge for us for, you know, quite some time. We search and get feedback from about battery recycling, and one of the places we always ask, like, hey, what's the most convenient place, you know, where would you like to recycle your batteries? You know, and people always say they like to recycle them at home, and then it grocery stores, because that's a lot of people are buying batteries at grocery stores. You know, and historically, grocery stores have not wanted to collect batteries because they don't want to dedicate any time, you know, to ensuring that the batteries are properly packed. This kind of helps both of those. Doesn't require them to actively manage this. It really requires them to provide a little bit of a footprint for this small drum to go. And what our Canadian counterparts have seen is that, you know, they put these drums in grocery stores, and it was really kind of a slow start. But then as people were kind of coming in every week, you know, walking by this, they really started to, you know, see the usage of the drum and the volume of batteries being collected really go through the roof. And so we're sort of expecting that as well. You know, we're trying to. There's a lot to test here. You know, the technology, as Roxanne saying, is being used in Canada. We're flipping that technology to a U.S. carrier, and then also, as you mentioned, working with Chinton to be able to go out and service this. You know, so it's I think it's a really great thing. You know, we're looking at late April to be able to kick this off. So certainly more to come here, and what we learn here will also, you know, be used in other areas, most likely at grocery stores to, you know, provide another convenient collection point for folks.
Hey, Todd,
Yes.
if you're interested, we could also work with you on this and consider placing one here in central Vermont. I did have a question. Do you have any concerns about people just throwing garbage in there?
That's what Karen and I were just talking about.
It's about the right size for like a
Yeah.
soda bottle or something.
Yeah,
So,
I mean,
I'll let Todd answer.
I would say, you know, certainly always in whether it's, you know, batteries. Get closer. Is that any better?
Yep.
Yeah.
Hopefully. Evidently, if I move an inch closer, it's fine, but you get
can't
too much
move,
of my
Todd.
face. I'm not moving. So you know, contamination, as in any recycling program, is always an issue. You know, our hope and ideas is communicating and talking to the stores as well. You know, they don't have to actively pack it, but, you know, if they happen to see somebody putting a soda bottle in there, ask them to kindly take it out. The signage helps as well. You know, making it very visible and clear that it's for batteries. It won't be foolproof, but it certainly in Canada has helped as well. You know, but I'm under no, I guess, delusion that we won't see any contamination.
The other thing that we've learned from Canada is they've asked the grocery stores to put a trash can next to these, and then it becomes much more awareness of, I put my trash here and I don't put it in there. So they had a massive lesson learned up there.
Yeah.
Another follow-up, about how heavy is one of these 16-gallon drums when it's full, as far as logistics of replacing it, moving it?
It's probably around 150-ish pounds. somewhere between 100 and 150. It basically, you need a dolly to do it and a lift gate on a truck.
Hi, Todd. This is Esther.
Hey, Esther.
Hi there. This sounds like a great solution for, as Pam asked, if this would be something that a smaller transfer station could use instead of the one drum.
It can't be transported the way so the drum itself, so they basically, when it's full, obviously pings you. It can be picked up by a swimmy and moved by a swimmy vehicle, an employee, and moved to a location. It cannot be shipped in quote unquote commerce as it is. So they would not be able to ship it from a small transfer station. It's just the way the regulations are, because the batteries aren't terminally protected and they do not have the individual fire suppressant beads in them.
And this is smaller than the one drum?
This is smaller. Yes, this is smaller than the one drum.
So what is the footprint if a retailer would agree to have it in their store?
It is, I don't know offhand, but I want to say it's 20 inches across, 24 inches across. It's not big, and maybe a couple, 2.5 feet high. I can get you the exact dimensions of a 16. It's a little under 16 gallon, but that's a good comp.
Thank you.
Sorry, I don't know them offhand, but that's generally it. So this we're very excited about. Like I said, it's a pilot. We're going to learn a lot from it. Excited to really pilot it in Vermont and sort of see what happens there.
And I think one of the pieces we didn't mention is the launch for this one store pilot is around Earth Day, is the 8th. So you'll probably hear a lot, at least in the Burlington area, with some press and whatnot.
Does the smart drum contain a fire suppressant as well?
It does not contain the fire suppressant beads. Does not. It sort of acts as like the collection box, a smart collection box.
Very large battery.
Right.
It's pretty.
So no high power.
No.
And if
In a
somebody
lot of
does
it-
put battery
Go
in,
ahead, sir.
the permanent runaway won't happen because of the smart technology that's in there.
Correct.
So it may not have the beads, but at least it'll kind of shut the whole process down by eliminating oxygen, I'm guessing.
Yes.
Oh, so it'll shut?
Yeah, it closes.
But it does vent though, so you don't have a problem.
Right.
Yeah.
And the intent of the really stores, and what we have seen is at the retail.
Repeat that.
Sorry.
And
The intent of this is really to focus on grocery stores, because that's a market that we've never been able to break into, and a lot of people are saying, hey, we want to recycle at grocery stores. And what we have also seen specifically in retail, a lot of consumers will bring batteries that they buy from a specific retailer back to that retailer. So in grocery stores, you're buying a lot of single-use batteries. So we would expect a lot of single-use batteries coming back to grocery stores. Will they have the occasional power tool battery? Sure, but we don't expect too many of those.
Hey, Todd, it's Esther again. Do you approach the retailers, or is that something that the SWIMI representatives need to do?
In Chinton's case, we're working with them to approach this retailer who they do other work with, whether it's compost. I think they're also doing some composting work with them. So we're basically right now working through the SWIMI, and I would say in the future that's probably what it would be as well. the other part of this too will be, how do we get that picked up? Is, and with the efficiencies of all the pickups and how does that work as well? So lots to figure out in the pilot, but we are excited. And Esther, to your question, we would probably turn to the SWMI to get more info, to help make those connections.
Is there space on the display to perhaps refer back to the SWMI and also put those specifications that you shouldn't put a damaged battery in there and the weight limits and stuff? So is that all sort of on the?
Yep.
Great, okay.
I just had one suggestion, since it says not final design. On that top, I would put batteries only, maybe in caps, like bold, so that when someone's standing over it and looking down, that's what they see. And then
Yes, good. There's going to be a sticker on the top too. I don't. It kind of looks like the one on the right, the little green, not the full lid, like the little, I guess the little battery lid that looks like is just above the word top.
Yeah.
There'll be a sticker there as well, basically screaming at everyone as well. So
That
yes.
top photo kind of looks like an old ashtray to me.
There was, I think it was in Toronto years ago, there were recycling bins that yelled at people when they like put the wrong thing in. And I was thinking you could do your voice.
I was going to say that might only work in New Jersey. I don't know if that would work in Vermont.
No. No.
Dan, did you have a question?
Yeah.
Hi, my question is about all these barrels now. Where can they be stored? Is there a temperature range? Is they have to be in a waterproof or water resistant area? Can you have them outside?
They should be indoors.
For
So
both this smart drum and the one drum?
Yes. Yep. Anything, even the small DDR containers, I would say keep those indoors as well. We do have some locations that will take a drum and use it for storage, and they'll put that outside, and just kind of leave it in the back 40, so to speak.
So you can store outside your battery.
You can
as long as it's in a.
It has to be completely contained. I'm just gonna butt in. Yeah, permit wise, Suzanne, it's not something we would encourage undercover. And it would have to be really contained.
Okay.
You wouldn't just, yeah.
Can I just clarify? Call2Recycle boxes. I store them in a shed closed with the fire resistant material covering it and the box closed appropriately, but it's not heated.
Temperature's okay. That's okay. It doesn't need to be heated, but it does need to stay dry and undercover inside.
What, undercover or inside?
I will check your permits. I guess that's why I'm being a little, because we start crossing over into potentially like your e-cycle storage stuff. And so that's why, at this point, let me confirm, but everything needs to be undercover at the very least. It needs to stay out of the elements. Temperature is not an issue. And it should be on a impervious surface, right? Should not be sitting on a dirt ground, even if it's undercover. And then I can confirm to you, Esther, whether undercover is sufficient or if it has to be actually inside.
Okay, thanks.
Sure.
And Todd, someone wanted clarification. So the smart drum does not have baggies for individual batteries, correct?
It does not have baggies, correct?
Added clarification, is that smart drum run on batteries?
It is.
It does.
You start going low, it
Luckily-
actually lets us know so that we can replace the batteries.
So it doesn't need to get plugged in.
And how does it communicate to you? Is it Wi-Fi, Bluetooth?
Yep.
Yeah.
So it can only be located in a place where Wi-Fi is available?
Yes, because there has to be.
Well,
Signal.
it's
There has
cell
to be
coverage, right? It's not yeah, it's
Yeah.
cell coverage, not necessarily Wi-Fi.
So if your cell phone works there, it will work. So it's in a,
If you can connect yourself.
if you can connect your cell phone.
All right.
It's cool, right? It's cool.
Roxanne, if this slide is yours, just talk about sort of the Marcom and what that's going to look like and the start dates.
Yeah, so here and just I'm gonna go really fast because I know we don't have a lot of time yet. So just some of the Marcom events, things that we have for Vermont are throughout the year, we will be sending reminders to the stewards on the new law and the plan and just give them updates throughout the year. And we'll also be promoting the expanded battery recycling in late Q4 for the January 1 start date. So that will get promoted then. And then there'll also be various campaigns for battery collections conducted throughout the year. And that includes the pilot for Smart Drum. I think you'll see a lot around Earth Day, really.
And in case anyone is like me and was thinking Marcom, it's marketing and communications outreach, just to kind of reiterate.
Oh, thank you. We will.
No, you don't need to. I just for a minute was thinking, what is she talking about?
Awesome. Thank you. And then timing.
Yeah, and then this just highlights some of the things that we have going on. I mean, we're in the process of developing our plan. We're about 80% through, so we just want to make sure that we get it right the first time. So that we will in June be submitting the plan. And then in March, we're meeting with all of you. So here we are. Next month, we'll be launching Smart Drum, and then we'll have some campaigns around Earth Day and spring cleaning.
Great, that's great. And just a shout out to everybody. If you can look for, we'll share with you as anything from Call2Recycle that they're putting out around Earth Day and spring cleaning, and there'll be some stuff coming from us too. And we just love it if you can all put that on your social media and your front porch forum, and it'd be great.
In November, we'll start campaigning for the expanded battery program. In between all of those times from May to October, I would say we'll be contacting you about what supplies you'll need so that in December we can get everything delivered to you so that we're ready for the January 1 kickoff. So for you guys, I would just I would say please be thinking about what you think you're gonna need. How many damaged defective batteries do you get? So what kind of kit would you want to have on hand for that? Is it the larger one? Is it the single envelope? It's really going to be based on your knowledge and what you know about the batteries that you get. Same with the we're saying medium format. We say high energy. Just know we mean the same thing. I mean the same thing. Because we keep going back and forth on the higher watt batteries, and what kind of packaging do you want for that? And is one drum the best solution for you, and how many? And we have all of your numbers and everything. So when we contact you, we'll have an idea of the volumes that you have. But really, you're the only ones who know what kind of batteries you get. So it's going to definitely be a collaboration.
And I'm also just gonna acknowledge that, oh, my battery's running low, that, we're gonna be learning this a bit too as we go, and some of you may not fully know what you're gonna get yet. And, you know, and we'll work through that. Because once the word goes out that you can take more batteries and there's more awareness, you may see an increase.
And there was a question.
Yeah, Alexandra has a question.
Hi, yeah, just a clarification on the pre-order quantities. Are we thinking about just our individual entities or all transfer station collection stations in our district?
I would say all of the ones in your district, right? Because we want to make sure that you have what you need at every location that you manage.
Great.
If you
Okay.
manage it, yeah, you might not be
if
aware.
you
Yeah.
manage it.
I was gonna say that if it's your, you know, kind of under your purview, then yes. And always looking for new spots to recycle batteries too. So if you you know, there's a business or institution within your area and they want to recycle batteries as well, we're more than happy to do that.
I did have a thought. There's a Trex program that I promote because we don't accept film. And they have receptacles, like at Market 32, I believe there's several stores. There's like a list of them. I was just thinking that those, pilots would be a good placement next to the film. Cause then you're getting people thinking that it's like one place for recycling. So, you know, that.
Yeah, no, that's a good idea. We'll reach out and get that link.
Yeah.
You help us with that
Yeah,
list.
it'd be a nice
Reach out to
pairing.
those. Yeah, that'd be great.
Hey, I love this slide because I always mess up who does what. It would be great to have a copy of this.
Yeah, we're gonna send that out, Esther. We'll send a copy of this out for sure.
Good, thanks.
I think that's it on our side. Any other questions, discussion?
I'm just a little curious, a little off topic, but I'm wondering what Call2Recycle is, what sort of thinking and planning you're doing around the anticipated increase in batteries that have reached the end of their useful life, that have been used in solar systems or EVs, say the large format deep cycle.
You're not the first one.
Sure.
Yeah, you're not the first one.
I can just tell you from the ANR side, that we, in the expanded battery law, we need to do an assessment study on power storage batteries like we talked about and EV batteries. And right now at the legislature, there is an amendment to have that study pushed out a year to November 2027, so that we can time it with a study that's also required in Illinois' battery law and Washington State's battery law. And so that the study, instead of everybody duplicating efforts, it's also pushing the stewardship organization to do the study instead of ANR, thinking that the stewardship organization is more directly connected to what's going on in the market with batteries and the latest. So just wanted to put that out there, that's kind of where that stands right now, and it's definitely something we're all gonna be dealing with.
It's coming.
Yeah, it's coming. And the governor actually just asked about it a few weeks ago too. From one of our, our weekly updates that we send out from our program for what we're working on, and because we had gotten a call from a resident. So he's thinking about it too.
So thank you for that, Mia. And I just kind of on the EV side, there's a law in New Jersey for electric vehicle manufacturers and basically a program around or for those products. There are a couple other states that are considering it. New Jersey's law doesn't go into more of a study at this point, goes into effect 2 or 3 years out, I think, 3 years out.
Yep.
But, sort of a general statement around electric vehicles. At this point, the electric vehicle, a lot of the batteries are changed at dealerships, and the dealerships are dealing with the batteries, and the OEMs, the car manufacturers, have specific contracts with the battery recyclers. So a lot of that is being handled internally by the auto OEM. The ones that seem to be the question are basically abandoned batteries, in air quotes. So those ones are, at scrap yards. Traditionally, a scrap company will go buy a lot of cars at an auction, piece and part that out, sell all those parts. And then whatever they can't sell goes to scrap metal. Well, now if it's an electric vehicle, they're left with a battery. That battery then will cost them money to get rid of. The OEMs, the car manufacturers in Canada, there's a program in Quebec which is going to go national soon that really is set to address, these quote unquote abandoned batteries that are either, at these scrap dealerships, at municipal depots, and basically be able to collect those through a program or by the actual manufacturer and through their program. So there's a lot more to come, especially here in the US. But a lot of the batteries right now are getting managed by the individual manufacturers.
Yeah, the ones we're struggling with right now are the one, like you said, that are ending up at salvage yards. And then also from our floods. We've had, that has been a struggle, definitely.
Yeah. What about the power walls that they're giving out to people who are experiencing power loss? I know there's.
Sure, so that's exactly in the same category.
Yeah.
And some of the programs right now, it depends on which program people are involved in and who had the foresight or not. So there are certain utilities that are taking them back through working with their vendor. So say they were working with Tesla or with Redwood or whoever, they will take back those batteries when folks either, replace the system, they upgrade. Again, there's some question about if the battery is fire damaged or flood damaged, whether or not we'll take that back. And I know, where I live, that was a struggle last summer from a few homes that were flooded. So that's something that needs to get figured out for sure. And we would want to look at that in this assessment to make sure that those have a home. Yeah, no pun intended.
Also related to that is, like putting fires out, emergency response for those large format batteries, if they're damaged, we gotta figure that out.
Yep.
ASAP.
Yeah, there is, the Fire Training Academy hosted, for first responders, various trainings, for hazmat team, and Josh Esty, we're picking on him again. He's not on the call, but I know he participated in some of those for the fire department that he volunteers for. So yeah, but making sure that that's comprehensive and that everybody has access for sure. And it is on everyone's radar. I just have to make sure it happens. Great. Think we covered everything for today?
I think so.
We're ready for lunch?
Everything and more.
Yeah. Great. Thank you all. I hope you could,
Oh, wait,
see
there
and
was
hear.
one question.
Wait.
Hold on.
Oh, one more. Oh, Eric.
Hey,
All
all.
right, we'll let Eric ask the question.
Thank you so much. I put it in the chat, but thank you
Sorry,
so
Eric.
much for doing this. I just wanted to ask about the labeling and the dates. I know Mia brought it up and they're stored less than a year. But as far as DOT labeling, and I'm just wondering if labels are given out to facilities with these containers, or if you recommend them putting on a different label. And thanks again.
Eric.
Oh, sorry, Eric, I cut you off.
Nope. I'm all
Okay.
set.
Two pieces. To answer your question, yes, labels come with the kits. So the kit will actually come with, think of a black hefty bag, but it's not over the kit because we can't ship you. We try to make it as easy as possible for everybody. So everything comes pre-labeled. And if we pre-label it and we ship it like that, then it actually ships as a hazardous material because it's got that labeling on it. But it's just empty packaging. So it actually comes with like a cover. You take the cover off, everything should already be on it. If you're using the boxes, there's the universal waste labels are already on the box. So you'll be able to use that. And so there's the universal waste labeling, and then there's sort of the DOT labeling. So two different federal agencies, two different sort of groups of labeling, but all of that's taken care of.
Great, that's
Right,
good.
thanks so much.
Sure. That's
Thank
it.
you
I
so
think.
much.
Thank you,
That was
everybody. It's
great.
great to see everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you.
I was gonna say that was part of the training you take every year, is that it explains the different labels that come on the box.
Yeah.
And why they need to be there.
Right.
Yep, and I'm assuming that they're the